Okay, welcome, Pahrump. As you know, I'm Dr. Michael Reiner, and we're doing a Monday night series, The Independent Doctors of Pahrump. And usually I have Dr. Savrin with me, but he is, again, busy in Las Vegas doing what he does best, which is attend to patients. One of the things, we'll usually have a guest on the show, or sometimes I'll do what they call a didactic session where I actually just discuss different topics. And one of those things that seems to keep coming up over and over and over again is weight loss, obesity, and how it's tied to hypercholesterol and a lot of other diseases. And I thought I would go back to a talk that I kind of did previously on weight and weight loss. And I didn't do it on a PowerPoint, and this time I kind of put some thoughts down on a PowerPoint, and I thought that the audience would be seeing that on the screen, and that would allow you to better visualize what I'm trying to talk about when it comes to weight loss and weight gain. And then I hope to tie that into cholesterol-related diseases and how obesity affects cholesterol, and how our diets affect that, and then tie it into heart disease and some diabetes. And then we might break it up with a little bit of a few guests here and there. I wanted to have Arthur back on the show. We had him on about a month ago. I wanted him to show us some new portable oxygen devices, and maybe we'll have that on next Monday night. But anyway, without any further ado, I wanted to talk about obesity and a little bit about that, and we'll bring up this PowerPoint presentation, and we'll basically go through some of those presentations. And obesity, as you know, is an actual disease state, and it's a medical condition, and it truly is a problem. And I think one of the things that I see, and you have some definitions here, I guess for the purpose of being on target, the accumulation of excess body fat. Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. But to the extent that it may have a negative effect on health. And I have seen overweight people in my practice who basically show no elevation of cholesterol. They show no elevation of any other problems, no breathing difficulties. They may develop some arthritis and a few other things, but at that particular point, not really affecting their health. So I mean, it really has to affect your health in order for it to be an obese situation. But it does subtly. I mean, there are people who have sleep apnea. There are people who have other issues that come as a result of obesity. And we'll define some terms later. But if you are morbid obese prior to the age of 40, you have about a 50% probability of having some major problems. Once you seem to live past the age of 45, it seems to be less of a factor for your overall mortality. One of the things you'll see on the screen is the definition of obesity when what they call a body mass index exceeds 30 kilograms per meter squared. And below that, I give you a little bit of a definition of what and how you calculate BMI. And now we do that in the office. Our electronic medical records do that for us, and we use that. And BMIs are not exactly perfect. They do break down when you get a younger person. When there's more muscle mass and their weight's a little bit higher, muscle is denser. So if you take a younger person, the BMI tends to be elevated over what it really is. As we get older, it tends to be more of a true measure, and as we are seniors, it tends to be less of an issue because as we get older, and we'll see later, we lose muscle mass. But it is a number that we do use, and it is kind of like a uniform measurement of how your body and what actually its mass is. And they actually do have scales now. They have items that you can grab hold to that measure your resistance that will actually calculate a true BMI, but we don't do that. We do that just by measuring your height and your weight. One of the things, what we call epidemiology, what is the prevalence of a disease. Epidemiology is actually the actual cause of it, but the prevalence of a disease, this is kind of staggering that 1 out of every 3 Americans is now considered obese. That means 1 out of every 3 Americans has a BMI greater than 30. And I think it may be that as we look around, we actually see a lot of obesity, and women tend to favor males in the obesity department as we get older. A lot of that has to do with the difference in muscle mass, and we'll talk about that later. This was an interesting statistic that obesity has led to over 120,000 preventable deaths. I read on the CDC website that it was anywhere from 100 to 400,000. And this number was one source that I got off the web. And an obese person in America is likely to incur $1,500 more in annual medical expenses than the average person. And when they factored out certain issues with regards to preventable illnesses and things of that nature, an obese person would spend more than someone who drank and smoked with related diseases associated with that. And that was a staggering statistic. And here's the key: obesity is a preventable disease. It is something that is truly preventable. People do have the ability to control what they do. And I know this comes up all the time in my practice. Everybody who gains weight, and we'll talk about it later, wants to come in to have their thyroid checked. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you that believe that thyroid or hypo or low thyroid is related to weight gain. It is not. Low thyroid affects thermal regulation, your body's regulation, skin fineness, dryness, hair texture, whether it falls out, and hyperthyroidism, having too much thyroid, is another condition which we could talk about later. And I do want to, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see my name, but we'll be flashing up the call-in line, which is 727-8750. And if you do have any questions regarding tonight's topic or anything else, feel free to call in. Going to the next slide. We wanted to talk a little bit about the obesity, which we described as a BMI of 30 or higher. When you get over 40, we're getting into what they call morbid obese, and we can see that that has quadrupled from 1 in 200 Americans to 1 in 50. So truly, obesity, I wouldn't say is an epidemic, but it is a problem. It is a major problem. An extreme obesity greater than a BMI of greater than 50 has increased by a factor of 5, from 1 in 2,000 to 1 in 400. I mean, I guess if you walk around and you look at the people that you see, and you see how overweight everybody is, and I noticed that, including myself. I mean, I calculated my BMI the other day, and it was staggering that I was actually close to the obese mark. And so here I am talking to you about losing weight while I'm certainly trying to do the same myself. So simply, weight gain is basically, a caloric. It's a caloric factor. It's an in and out problem. It's a balance sheet. It's your bank account. You put more stuff in than you use, you're obviously going to gain weight. So when we eat more calories than we expend, we are going to pack that away in the form of fat. I listed here some interesting statistics about what we call metabolic rates. Children who are active and run and play and are doing all the things, they're actually growing. I mean, their caloric rate is 30 kilocalories per pound. And what that means is that they will burn, or they will have to take in 30 kilocalories per pound that they are. So if a child weighs 50 pounds, he has to eat 1,500 calories a day for that particular weight. The same is true for adults. The number is 15, but for the simplicity of the further calculations that we'll be doing, I talked about the average slow adult, or if you're debilitated, maybe you have an arthritis or another health problem, your metabolism might be close to 4 or maybe actually 10 kilocalories per pound. So, and for the purpose of these calculations, that's basically what we're going to stick with that. And so from the bottom example, you'll see that to maintain a weight of 200 pounds, if you have a slow metabolism, you have to ingest 2,000 calories a day. And that will maintain a weight of 200. And going to the next slide, there is a topic that I brought about, or a number that I mentioned, that 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. So if you were to sit down and eat a meal and ingest 3,500 calories, that's basically would put a pound on you. So the example I've given, and I've talked about this numerous times, what happens if a person who weighs 200 pounds with a slow metabolism eats 2,010 calories per day every day for a year? And you'll see that they will weigh 201 pounds after a year. Well, 10 calories a day for 365 days is 3,650 calories, which is 1 pound. If they continue to do that over the next 10 years, they will weigh 210 pounds. And if they continue to do that over 20 years, they will weigh 220 pounds. And the take-home message from this is that weight gain is is a small error in metabolism. It's that extra cookie. It's that extra soda pop over a week. It's just that extra 10 calories. It may even be just a piece of gum a day could mean 10 calories a day. And that's something to keep in mind, that, you know, we just make these small errors in metabolism every day and we gain weight. And that's why I think if you look at someone take a picture of them when they were 30 and a picture of them when they're 50, they just look a lot heavier, and that has a lot to do with it. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to do a few more discussions, and thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Thank you.